If you became a parent and suddenly realized, I am carrying more than diapers and bedtime routines, I am carrying my family history, you are not alone. A lot of people do not notice the shape of their generational trauma until they have a child in their arms. Because parenting does something powerful. It brings your own childhood back to the surface. It can bring up grief, anger, fear, and old survival patterns you thought were gone. Generational trauma is not only the big, obvious events people talk about. It can be neglect that was normalized. It can be emotional shutdown that was called strength. It can be yelling that was called discipline. It can be walking on eggshells that was called peacekeeping. It can be addictions, untreated mental illness, poverty, violence, abandonment, or shame that got passed down like an heirloom nobody wanted. Healing does not mean blaming your parents forever. Healing means seeing clearly what happened, understanding what it did to you, and choosing a new way. And the truth is, you do not have to be perfectly healed to be a good parent. You just have to be awake, willing, and committed to repair. This is a practical, honest guide for how to heal generational trauma when you become a parent in a way that actually changes your home. You're going to hear a few themes repeated throughout this script. That is on purpose, because healing is not one insight. It is repetition. It is the daily choice to come back to yourself, to your child, and to the kind of family you are building. Start here. When you become a parent, you will be tempted to focus only on your child. But the truth is, your nervous system is part of the environment. Your child is not just learning from what you say. They are learning from what your body does under stress. They are learning what love feels like in the room. They are learning what happens when someone is angry. They are learning what happens when mistakes are made. They are learning whether connection returns after conflict. Generational trauma often lives inside the nervous system. It shows up as hypervigilance, numbness, explosiveness, people-pleasing, control, shutting down, perfectionism, anxiety, or deep shame. And when you have a baby, you are sleep-deprived and stretched thin, which means your old survival responses can come roaring back. So the first step is not to perfect your parenting strategies. The first step is to understand your patterns. You cannot change what you cannot see. Here is a simple way to start noticing. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did my family do with anger? What did my family do with sadness? What did my family do with needs? In some homes, anger was dangerous, so everyone stayed quiet. In some homes, anger was constant, so you learned to freeze or fight back. In some homes, sadness was mocked or punished. In some homes, needs were treated like burdens. In some homes, love was real but emotionally clumsy. In some homes, the adults were drowning in their own trauma, and the kids learned to take care of everyone. None of this is about making villains. It is about telling the truth, because your child will press on these exact areas, not on purpose, just by being a human with needs. A toddler screaming no can ignite the old fear of losing control. A child crying can trigger the old message that feelings are weakness. A teenager pulling away can trigger abandonment wounds. A messy house can trigger shame. A child making noise can trigger the body memory of being unsafe. So you start by mapping your triggers. A trigger is not just being annoyed. A trigger is when your reaction is bigger than the moment. It is when your body is pulled into the past. If you want to heal generational trauma as a parent, you have to learn the difference between the present and the past. This is my child having a tantrum. This is my body remembering my childhood. Those can happen at the same time, but they are not the same thing. One of the biggest shifts is learning to pause long enough to separate them. That pause is where healing lives. Now let us talk about the core goal. Healing generational trauma is not only about stopping harmful behaviors. It is also about building what you did not receive. It is both. Some parents focus on not repeating the abuse, which matters, but they do not know what to replace it with. So they end up stuck between 2 extremes. Either they become rigid and controlling because they are terrified of getting it wrong, or they become permissive because they fear being harmful and they lose their authority and stability. Healing generational trauma means you become a safe leader, not a dictator, not a doormat, a safe leader. That looks like warmth and boundaries. It looks like empathy and follow through. It looks like emotional honesty without dumping your emotions on your child. It looks like repair when you mess up. It looks like a home where feelings are allowed and limits exist. That is the target. So, how do you get there? Step one is regulation. This is not trendy therapy language. This is real. If your nervous system is constantly overwhelmed, you will parent from survival. And survival parenting is where generational trauma repeats. Regulation means learning how to come back to the present when you are activated, not by pretending you are calm, by actually creating calm in your body. If you grew up around chaos, calm may feel unfamiliar. Sometimes calm can even feel unsafe at first. Your body might be used to scanning for danger. It might confuse peace with the calm before the storm. So regulation is a practice. Here are practical regulation tools that work for parents in real life. The first is naming. When you feel activated, name what is happening in a simple way. I'm getting flooded. I am feeling triggered. My body is in fight or flight. Naming engages a more grounded part of the brain. It helps you step back from the wave instead of becoming the wave. The second is slowing your breath. You do not need a fancy technique. You just need a longer exhale than inhale. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Do that 3 times. This signals safety to the nervous system. The third is grounding in your senses. Feel your feet on the floor. Press your toes down. Hold something cold. Splash water on your face. Look around and name 5 things you see. This helps your brain realize I am here, not that there. The fourth is movement. Trauma gets stored in the body. Stress chemicals want movement. If you can, shake out your hands, stretch your shoulders, do 10 wall push-ups, walk into another room and roll your neck. You are not being dramatic. You are discharging stress. The fifth is a planned pause. If you know you get activated, plan your exit lines in advance. I need a minute to calm down. I will be right back. I am feeling frustrated. I'm going to breathe, and then we will talk. This is powerful because it teaches your child something you may never saw. Big feelings do not have to become harm. They can become a pause. If you have a baby or a toddler and you cannot walk away safely, you can still pause internally. Place a hand on your chest. Breathe out slowly. Tell yourself, this is hard and I can be steady. Regulation is not a one-time fix. It is the base layer. You cannot parent differently if you cannot return to yourself under pressure. Step 2 is reparenting. This word can sound cheesy, but it is simple. Reparenting means you give yourself what you did not receive, so you do not demand your child fill that hole. Because this is one of the hidden ways trauma passes down. A parent who never felt seen might unconsciously need their child to always be close, always be grateful, always be loyal, always be happy. A parent who was shamed might become harsh when a child makes mistakes. A parent who grew up with unpredictability might become controlling. A parent who was neglected might overfunction and burn out, then resent everyone. Reparenting is how you interrupt that. It begins with compassion and truth. You look at the younger parts of you and you say, I see why this is hard. I see why you learned this. I am here now. You do not have to do inner child work perfectly. You just need to stop abandoning yourself when you are triggered. Here's what reparenting looks like in daily parenting moments. Your child is crying. Your body wants to shut down or get angry. A part of you is thinking, stop crying. You are too much. Reparenting is pausing and telling yourself, feelings are not dangerous. Needs are not shameful. Crying is not disrespect. Then you turn back to your child and you respond from your adult self. I am here. You are safe. I will help you. That is generational healing. Because you are not only soothing your child, you are rewriting the template. Another example, your child disobeys you. Your body wants to go to threats or humiliation. Reparenting is remembering. Fear is not the same as respect. You can be firm without being cruel. So you get low, you speak clearly, and you follow through. I will not let you hit. If you hit again, we are taking a break, and then you do it. No screaming. No character attacks, just leadership. This takes practice, especially if you never saw it modeled, but you can learn it. Step 3 is grieving. This is the part many people skip. You cannot heal what you keep minimizing. If you grew up telling yourself it was not that bad, other people had it worse, they did their best, you may be protecting your parents, but you are also silencing your own reality. Grief is not about hating your parents. Grief is about honoring what you lost. Maybe you lost safety. Maybe you lost gentleness. Maybe you lost guidance. Maybe you lost protection. Maybe you lost the childhood where you got to just be a child. When you become a parent, the grief can intensify because you see what was possible. You see what your child needs. And part of you realizes, I needed that too. If you do not let yourself grieve, your pain will leak out as irritability, numbness, resentment, or explosive reactions. Grief is not weakness. Grief is integration. How do you grieve as a busy parent? You do it in small, honest moments. You journal the truth without editing. You let yourself cry in the shower. You talk to a therapist or a trusted friend. You let your body feel what it had to bury. And you remind yourself, I can love them and still admit it hurt. Both can be true. Step 4 is boundaries. Generational trauma often includes boundary confusion. Either there were no boundaries and people invaded each other, or there were rigid boundaries that felt like emotional walls, or children had to take care of adults, or love was conditional. When you become a parent, you have to learn boundaries on 2 levels: boundaries with your family of origin and boundaries inside your home. Let us start with family of origin. If your parents were harmful, dismissive, controlling, or emotionally unsafe, becoming a parent can make that clearer. You might suddenly feel fierce protectiveness. You might realize you do not want your child exposed to the same dynamics you survived. You are allowed to set limits. You are allowed to say no visits without notice. You are allowed to say, do not comment on my child's body. You are allowed to say, we do not use that language around my kids. You are allowed to reduce contact if someone cannot respect you. This is hard because trauma bonds can include guilt and fear. But boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are protection. And if you are trying to heal generational trauma, you cannot keep letting the old system run your life. Inside your home, boundaries are about structure. Children feel safe when they know what is allowed and what is not. A lot of traumatized parents either become extremely controlling or they avoid boundaries because they do not want to be like their parents. But boundaries done with warmth are healing. Boundaries teach you matter and other people matter too. They teach you can be upset and you still cannot hurt people. They teach your feelings are valid and the limit stays. That is secure parenting. So if you want a simple boundary formula, use this. Name the feeling, state the limit, offer an alternative. Example, you are mad. I will not let you throw toys. You can stomp your feet or squeeze this pillow. Or, you really want that. It is not available right now. You can choose this or this. This seems small, but it is massive for a child. It teaches emotional containment, and it teaches you as the parent that you can hold the line without becoming your worst memory. Step 5 is repair. Repair is one of the most important tools for breaking generational trauma, because trauma often includes this pattern. Harm happens and nobody talks about it, or harm happens and the child has to apologize, even if the adult caused the harm, or harm happens and everyone pretends it never happened. Repair breaks that. Repair teaches your child that conflict does not equal abandonment. It teaches them that love returns. It teaches them that adults can take responsibility. And repair heals you too, because you get to become the adult you needed. So what is repair? Repair is simple and specific. It is not a dramatic speech. It is not excuses. It is a few honest sentences. I yelled. That was not okay. You did not deserve that. I was overwhelmed, but it is my job to handle my feelings. I am sorry. Next time I'm going to take a pause. Do you want a hug or do you want space? This is not making your child your therapist. This is healthy accountability. If your parents never apologized, this might feel unnatural. You might fear losing authority. But apologies done with leadership increase authority. They create trust. Because your child learns, my parent is safe even when they mess up. That is what you want. And here is something else. Repair is not only after you explode. Repair can also be after disconnection. If you were withdrawn because you were depressed, anxious, overstimulated, or shut down, you can repair that too. I have been quiet today. I have had a lot on my mind. You did nothing wrong. I love you. I am here. That can be life-changing for a child. Step 6 is changing the daily culture of your home. This is where healing becomes real. Generational trauma often lives in the everyday atmosphere. the tone, the pace, the way mornings feel, the way mistakes are handled, the way people speak to each other. So you ask yourself, what is the culture I grew up in? Was it criticism? Was it silence? Was it chaos? Was it fear? Was it emotional distance? Then you choose what you want your culture to be, and you build it through small, repeated habits. Here are a few daily culture shifts that heal. One is emotional language. Many traumatized homes did not have words for feelings, only behaviors. So teach feeling words in your home, even for yourself. I am frustrated. I am sad. I am worried. I am overstimulated. I need a break. This helps children build emotional intelligence, but it also helps you because naming feelings reduces the need to act them out. Another is normalizing needs. In trauma homes, needs were dangerous. Needs led to rejection or ridicule. So in your home, you make needs normal. I need water. I need rest. I need quiet. You need help. Let us figure it out. This teaches your child that asking for help is not shameful. Another is predictable connection. Trauma homes are often unpredictable. Love comes and goes. Mood determines safety. So you build predictable connection. 10 minutes of undistracted time, a bedtime ritual, a morning hug, a simple check-in. What was the hardest part of your day? What was the best part? These do not need to be long. They need to be consistent. Another is how you respond to mistakes. In many homes, mistakes were punished with shame, so you shift from shame to learning. That does not mean no consequences. It means you separate behavior from identity. You did a hurtful thing. You are not a bad kid. We are going to fix it. And you model how to fix it. When a child spills, breaks something, lies, or fails, you treat it as a moment of teaching, not as proof they are defective. That is how you break generational shame. Step 7 is choosing the right kind of support. You cannot heal generational trauma alone while raising kids in a stressed out world. You need support that is safe and informed. This might mean therapy, especially trauma-informed therapy. It might mean parenting coaching. It might mean a support group. It might mean reading and learning. But the key is this: support should help you regulate and build skills, not keep you stuck in rage loops. Not all conversations about trauma are healing. Some are re-traumatizing. Healing support helps you take action. It helps you learn boundaries. It helps you practice repair. It helps you build a new inner voice. If you have access to professional support, look for trauma-informed approaches. Somatic therapy can be especially helpful because so much trauma lives in the body. EMDR is also helpful for many people, especially with specific painful memories. Internal family systems can help you work with the younger parts of you that get activated in parenting. There are many roads, and the best one is the one that helps you function and love well. If you do not have access to therapy, you can still build a healing plan. Choose 1 or 2 books that focus on trauma and nervous system regulation. Follow a few trauma-informed educators who teach practical tools, not just slogans. Journal in a structured way. Talk to one safe person who can hold your truth without dismissing it. Even small support can change your capacity. Step 8 is breaking the secrecy. Generational trauma often survives through silence. Families become systems that protect themselves by denying the truth. Do not talk about that. Do not upset your mother. Do not make the family look bad. That secrecy is part of the trauma. Now, you do not need to expose everything publicly. You do not need to wage war with your family, but you do need honesty in your own life. That can mean naming the truth to yourself. That can mean saying, "This was abuse." That can mean saying, "My parent was mentally ill and untreated." That can mean saying, "I was neglected." That can mean saying, "I was parentified." Truth breaks the spell, and truth also helps you choose boundaries with clarity. A lot of people stay stuck because they are still negotiating with reality. They keep hoping someone will finally become who they needed. Healing is when you stop waiting. Healing is when you give yourself what you were waiting for. Step 9 is accepting that healing is not linear. When you become a parent, you might do really well for weeks, then have a day where you snap, cry, and feel like you ruined everything. That is normal. Healing is not a straight line. It is building capacity over time. The question is not, did I ever get triggered? The question is, what do I do when I get triggered? Do I notice it sooner than I used to? Do I recover faster than I used to? Do I repair more consistently than I used to? Do I hold my boundaries more clearly than I used to? That is progress. You are not trying to become perfect. You are trying to become safe. And safety is built through repetition. Now let us get even more specific. What does it look like to heal the biggest common generational patterns? Let us name a few. One common pattern is yelling. If yelling was normal in your home, your nervous system may think yelling is how people listen. Or it may be your automatic release when you feel powerless. To heal this, you need two things. You need regulation tools, and you need a new discipline strategy. Because many parents yell because they have no other tool that works in the moment. So you choose one simple discipline approach and practice it. Make expectations clear. Use fewer words. Give one warning. Then follow through with a consequence that is calm and consistent. And you practice catching yourself early. If you notice your voice rising, pause. Lower your volume. Speak slower. This is not about being soft. It is about being effective. Another pattern is emotional invalidation. If your feelings were dismissed, you might dismiss your child's feelings without meaning to. Stop crying. You are fine. That is nothing. Healing means you validate feelings without always fixing. You can say, I see you. That is hard. You are upset. I am here. You do not have to agree with the behavior to validate the feeling. Another pattern is control and perfectionism. Trauma can make you feel like if you control everything, nothing bad will happen. So you become rigid about routines, mess, school performance, behavior in public. Healing means learning to tolerate discomfort, learning to allow imperfection, learning that your child can be a whole human, not a performance. This is where self-compassion matters, because control often comes from fear. So you ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I loosen my grip? Then you work with that fear instead of acting it out on your child. Another pattern is enmeshment. This is when a parent and child are emotionally fused. The child becomes the parent's comfort, identity, or purpose. This can be subtle. The parent overshares adult problems. The parent leans on the child emotionally. The parent cannot tolerate the child separating. Healing means keeping adult burdens with adults. It means having your own support system. It means allowing your child to have their own feelings, their own preferences, their own privacy. Another pattern is emotional absence. Some parents were raised by emotionally unavailable caregivers, and they repeat it through shutdown. They provide food, shelter, tasks, but emotionally they are distant. Healing means practicing presence in small doses. Look at your child's face. Ask one question. Listen for 1 minute. Put your phone down for 10 minutes. Presence can be learned. You do not have to become a different personality. You just have to be reachable. Now let us talk about the biggest fear many parents have. What if I damage my child the way I was damaged? First, the fact that you are asking this is already a sign of healing. Trauma repetition often happens when people are unconscious, defensive, and unwilling to reflect. You are reflecting. That matters. Second, children do not need perfect parents. They need good enough parenting with consistent repair. Research and clinical practice both point to the same truth. Secure attachment is built through responsiveness and repair, not flawless calm at all times. So if you mess up, do not collapse into shame. Shame is how generational trauma keeps control. Shame says, you are bad, you cannot change, you should give up. Healing says, I did something I regret, I can repair, I can learn, I can do better next time. Third, remember that generational healing is not only about what you stop doing, it is about what you start doing. If your child grows up with emotional language, boundaries, repair, and consistent love, that is a different lineage, even if you still have hard days. Now I want to offer a simple plan. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but what do I do first? Here's a step-by-step plan you can start this week. Day 1, write down your 3 biggest triggers as a parent. Examples: crying, backtalk, mess, disobedience in public. Day 2, choose one regulation tool you will practice every day. Long exhale breathing, grounding through feet, cold water. Naming. Choose one. Practice it when you are not triggered too. Day 3, write down one sentence you wish your parents had said to you when you were upset. Then practice saying it to your child, and also say it to yourself. Day 4, set one boundary with your family of origin or with someone who impacts your parenting. It can be small: no unannounced visits, no yelling around my child, no comments about weight. Day 5, practice repair. Even if nothing big happened, you can still repair small moments. I was distracted earlier. I'm here now. Day 6, create one predictable connection ritual. 5-minute bedtime talk, morning hug, after school snack check in. Day 7, reflect. What felt different? Where did I struggle? What do I need more support with? This is a real plan, not a fantasy. Small, consistent change builds a new family system. And if you want to go deeper, here are the deeper mindset shifts that make everything easier. 1, your child is not your enemy. This sounds obvious, but trauma can make parenting feel like constant threat. The child is loud, needy, defiant, messy, emotional, but children are not giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. Your job is to be the steady adult. 2, discipline is teaching, not hurting. If you grew up with punishment, you may confuse fear with learning, but fear teaches one thing: hide. Healing discipline teaches repair. Try again, learn skills. 3, your feelings are allowed, but they are your responsibility. You can be angry and still be safe. You can be overwhelmed and still pause. You can cry and still be the parent. Your child does not need you to be emotionless. They need you to be accountable. 4, your home does not have to follow the old script. This is the most hopeful truth. You are not cursed. You are not doomed to repeat it. Patterns feel inevitable until you interrupt them, and each interruption matters. Every time you pause instead of exploding, you are healing the line. Every time you validate feelings, you are healing the line. Every time you repair, you are healing the line. Every time you set a boundary, you are healing the line. Every time you choose presence, you are healing the line. Now, I want to speak directly to the parent who feels exhausted by this. You might be thinking, I can barely get through the day. How am I supposed to heal trauma too? Hear me. Healing is not another job you have to do perfectly. Healing is a shift in how you treat yourself in the middle of parenting. You heal in moments. You heal when you stop calling yourself worthless. You heal when you take one breath before responding. You heal when you choose one different sentence. You heal when you come back and apologize. You heal when you ask for help. You heal when you stop pretending it did not hurt. You heal when you stop protecting people who never protected you. You heal when you decide your child will not carry what you carried. That is not small. That is sacred work. And it is not about being flawless. It is about being real. Before we close, let me say something important. If you are dealing with severe trauma, ongoing abuse, addiction in the home, or violence, you deserve professional support. You deserve safety. Healing generational trauma does not mean you just try harder. Sometimes it means you get help. You create distance. You make a plan. You protect yourself and your children. And if your trauma includes intrusive thoughts, panic, rage, dissociation, or deep depression, that is not a moral failure. That is a nervous system carrying too much. You can get support, you can learn tools, you can heal. You becoming a parent may have awakened pain you did not ask for, but it also awakened power you did not know you had. Because you are here. You are looking at the pattern. You are telling the truth. You are choosing something new. That is how generational trauma ends. It ends when one person decides, it stops with me. And then they build a home where love is not fear, where discipline is not harm, where feelings are not shame, and where repair is normal. If this helped you, take a breath and choose one small step from this script to try today. One pause, one repair, one boundary, one ritual. And if you want more videos like this, you can like and subscribe. It helps this channel reach the parents who feel alone in this. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment with the pattern you are trying to break. Not the whole story, just the pattern. You never know who will read it and feel less alone.